Well, look, Charlie Kirk's death is just the latest in a string of political violence in recent years targeting political figures. In June of 2017, Republican Congressman Steve Scalise was shot during a charity baseball game. In October 2018, a pizza delivery man sent several pipe bombs to prominent Democrats, including President Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. In October 2020, a plot by members of right-wing militia groups to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, was foiled. On January 5, 2021, an unknown person planted pipe bombs near the headquarters of the Republican National Committee and the Democratic National Committee. And the very next day, it was January 6, 2021, when thousands of Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol in an attempted political coup to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. In June 2022, conservative Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh survived an assassination attempt at his home in Washington, D.C. And in October that same year, a man broke into U.S. Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's home and assaulted her husband with a hammer. There have been a number of assassination attempts against President Trump, including the one in July 2024 when he was shot and wounded in his ear while campaigning. And in December of 2024, Luigi Mangione shot and killed Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, outside a hotel in New York City. In April 2025, Democratic Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's house was set on fire while he and his family slept inside. And in June of this year, Democratic Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband were shot dead in their home. And that's only a few of the politically motivated incidents that have occurred in the U.S. in recent years. Utah Governor Spencer Cox addressed Americans last night following the news of Charlie Kirk's death.
Our nation is broken. Nothing I say can unite us as a country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk. Our hearts are broken. We mourn with his wife, his children, his family, his friends. We mourn as a nation.
William Braniff is the executive director of the Polarization and Extremism Research and Innovation Lab at American University. William Braniff, it's good to meet you. Thank you for being here today, sir.
Thanks for having me.
This murder of Charlie Kirk, it has ignited this conversation or reignited this conversation about political violence in the United States. How do you view this moment, the significance of the hours after this killing?
Well, when this event occurred, it was clear that we have to be really careful about how we react to it, because we are at a moment of heightened polarization in the United States, and we are seeing increasing levels of political violence in the United States. The trend lines are really alarming. And so it was really clear when this occurred that our first step had to be, and it has to remain to be, to condemn the violence. This kind of violence is unacceptable. To choose how we want to react in this moment. Do we want to point fingers, blame, and enhance this negative polarization? Or do we want to, invest in prevention of the next attack? And we know how to prevent targeted violence and terrorism. It's really a question of whether we're willing to do the work, make the investment, or if we prefer the status quo, which is an unfortunate tit-for-tat downward spiral.
I see a blend of all of those possible paths in the reaction, right? There has been a lot of finger pointing and blaming, some people celebrating, the murder of a human being, others blaming political, ideologies on the left and others for what happened. I mean, what do you make of the way America is responding here?
When someone reacts to a tragedy like this by blaming someone, they have an agenda, right? When someone starts to look to a political leader to tell them how to feel about a murder, instead of thinking about the human cost of violence and the human cost of dehumanizing one another, that means that we are working for the political party or working for the politician. It's not how democracy is supposed to work. We're supposed to demand better of our politicians and our political parties and make them work for us. And so I really think it's incumbent upon Americans to take ownership of this moment, decide for themselves what kind of future they want for their children, and then make that future happen through their own actions, instead of looking to political leaders to blame the other side into submission, and somehow that's going to bring us back together. It certainly will not.
Well, as you and I are speaking, we don't know who did this. We don't know why they did this. I mean, we know who Charlie Kirk is and the type of political figure he was, but nothing about that justifies an assassination by any stretch of the imagination. But people are still, even in the absence of clear, hard information, jumping to conclusions and pointing fingers and calling for action. You're seeing a lot of things on social media. I mean, does this run the risk of sparking further violence, do you think?
It does. It's really important that Americans understand, that all of us understand, that if we're not thoughtful consumers of the information we receive online, we could make things worse by amplifying that content. A lot of content online is designed to manipulate you. It's designed to manipulate your emotions and designed to get you to behave in a certain way. That should make people upset. People should not want to be manipulated by somebody else's agenda. They should really want to slow down, think for themselves, see the facts, and then make sure that they're putting their emotional energy towards something that's going to make things better. And we do a lot of work at Peril at American University to understand online manipulation and then to help educate Americans about really how to be inoculated against those manipulations so that they can instead make their own informed decisions.
I was struck by the Utah Governor, Spencer Cox, last night when he came out and spoke and talked about how, you know, the nation is broken, he said, and there was nothing that he could say that you would unite the United States as a country to fix what is broken, but calling for people to look in the mirror and find their better angels. I mean, do you agree with the governor? Is something fundamentally broken in the United States? You talked about steps that could be taken to prevent this, but it keeps happening in this country with frequency. I mean, what is it that is causing it, and what can be done?
I believe in my heart that violence is preventable and that harm is preventable, and that these things are a reflection of norms in our society and our own behaviors and actions. And so I absolutely believe that the country is under stress, but that we can still right the ship. We just have to make that conscious effort to do so. So, you know, why is this happening, right? We understand that our online information environment and sort of our cable news information environment is designed to feed us righteous indignation so that we continue to tune in. Our two-party system sort of lends itself to this idea of a winner takes all, good versus evil, right versus wrong, binary. That's actually not what the country is based on in terms of our civics. We're based on compromise and civic discourse. We can choose those values. We just have to live them.
Well, there is a polarization, though, right? And then you layer social media over that, and the motivation to inflame, but also the luxury of hating and smearing people you've never met, you know, and having a platform and a megaphone for it seems to be just a part of the through line of all of this. So, I mean, are there policy steps? I mean, the gun control issue is a whole other issue, but is there ways to just make it less toxic, less polarized, less aggressive, less hateful?
There are many ways. That could be a really long conversation. I spent the last 2 years leading the U.S. government's Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Office, and we developed multi-level interventions at the societal level, norms, policies, strategies, at the primary level, community level interventions, at individual level interventions for at-risk individuals, and then rehabilitation and reintegration for individuals who had sort of gone down the rabbit hole. We know how to do those things. So yes, there's lots of ways to tackle this from societal down to individual levels. I'll give you one quick example.
Yeah.
We've developed a K-5 digital literacy and social emotional learning curriculum at Peril. It's free. Every school in the country can download that curriculum. All the instructor materials are there. It's aligned to core standards. We have to teach young people how to navigate the online world safely before they're exposed to these manipulative harms in earnest. So we can all eventually navigate these online contours more safely. If we don't invest in that, how do we expect people to have their 21st century legs underneath them and understand the extent to which they can't really trust the online information environment? Right? But we can make those investments, and we've built that first curriculum. It's freely available. It's called the Duck curriculum, Daniel the Duck, DUCC, right, if you Google it.
But it's a question of will, and it's a question of priorities, and it's
That's
a
right.
question of resources. That's really what it comes down to here.
Exactly correct.
William Braniff with American University. We appreciate your insights. We appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.